as Jordan Clark, ASU graduate transfer defensive back, is now going to Notre Dame, and you're hearing it all over, right? And it's part of the game now, and joining us now to talk about that as he's out recruiting in Louisiana is our good buddy Charlie Ragle. So Charlie, as you kind of embark on recruiting, can you kind of just pull the curtain back? As you know, I was never recruited. Okay, so I don't know the process, and I'm just curious. Is it what you see on TV? Here you are. You knock on the door. You go in. You meet mom and dad. You're sitting by the table. You have an iced tea. I mean, how does the process go down, Coach?
You guys there?
Yes, we got you. Can you hear us?
Oh, loud and clear. Sorry about that. I'm literally driving through the bayou as we speak, and I think I'm good, though. I think I'm good with some cell service. So, here's the difference now with the process is by the time you come out and do these in-home visits, usually the recruit and his parents have been to your campus multiple times, and so there's already been a relationship established. You've sat down, you've talked logistics and a lot of information. So now it's kind of just coming out and dotting the I's, crossing the T's this time of the year.
And Coach, early signing, just a couple of short weeks away versus signings in February. Priorities have got to be, I imagine, some kids will sign early and some will sign later. Is there a difference or a preference with the recruit, or is that with the college recruiting them?
Well, I think that the game has changed in terms of recruiting. I think the reality is that most of these guys are wanting to sign early. I think with the portal and the influx of guys going into the portal and guys transferring, to and from universities, I think depending on who they are, whether it's a high school athlete, whether it's a portal athlete, but I still think at the end of the day, these guys want to get this knocked out and done in the first signing period.
Charlie, how has this changed recruiting for, say, just a coach like you who now is on the road going to talk to prospective recruits? How has it changed just in the last couple of years?
Well, I think for a prime example is if you lose a kid, you have a game plan as the season comes to an end of who you've been recruiting, that whole year, right? And you're going to sign in the class of 24. And then if you have a player drop out, and I'm not talking about that player that you're currently recruiting, but off of your own roster, right? You have a player that leaves. Now you have a spot that comes open. You instantaneously have to figure out, okay, how are we replacing that number? And where am I going to get that replacement? So now in real time, I've got to go figure out, all right, are we going to get that guy out of the portal? Okay, if that's the case, all right, we've got to do our homework. And then, boom, we're off to wherever that guy is to go convince him to come play at Arizona State. And so it's just, I think, the reality of it's happening in real time versus, a prepared plan per se. I mean, you can be prepared up to a point, but then if guys drop out, you're recruiting in real time and changes have to happen on the fly.
And Charlie, I'm just curious, okay, you're the guys going to pour the leave. Are you aware how much of a heads up do these players give you? Because I know you want to keep as many guys as you possibly can. How much in-house recruiting is there, or you even get a heads up knowing that these guys are leave or not? I'm just curious how that works in-house.
Well, I think that we've done, Coach Dillingham's done a good job of over the course of the season staying updated on our roster and where we think these guys stand. You guys still got me?
Yeah, we got you, Coach. You're good.
Yeah, where these guys stand. So we're constantly talking and communicating as a staff of where we are with our guys. And, some guys you have a pretty good idea. Some guys maybe not as much. But we've kind of been preparing for this over the course of the season. Best case scenario, worst case scenario, in between both scenarios. And so then we're able to react. It's obviously not an exact science, but I think we've done a really good job of being the best prepared we can be with how the situation is set up currently.
Charlie Ragle joining us here, Fox Sports 910. Coach Kenny Dillingham tweaked his coaching staff this week. You got a new offensive coordinator, new defensive line coach. Can you talk about those two coaches? Start with Coach Reynolds.
Yeah, so obviously a well-experienced veteran of the D-line, obviously comes with an NFL background as well as an extensive college background, and he's getting in here and hitting the ground running, because that's the one thing when you sign these guys, we got to go to work, right? Yeah. So he's on the ground and running, and we're trying to add some D tackles to the mix, and so he's at work at that, and then obviously a well-experienced veteran of the formerly Pac-12, right? Marcus Arroyo, former head coach at UNLV, and obviously it's been at
3 minutes.
Cal, Oregon in the Pac-12, and so obviously coming in and going to take over the offensive play calling and quarterback duties, and same thing, looking to hit the ground running and try and energize this offense, and away they both go.
Yeah, really. I'm really curious, Coach, about when you identify. You talked about identifying players. Do you identify like maybe 50 in the portal and 50 recruiting wise, and if you land 3 or 4 from each, you've done a good job? What is there like a game plan that the coaches have for that?
Or does it depend on the budget, Charlie?
Yeah, that too.
What's in there?
Well, I think, you got to talk about, they're two separate factors, right? First and foremost is you have needs at every position. And so we have numbers, right? Our roster is broken down by numbers. So our numbers have to be met at every position. And, and how we to those numbers, obviously I'm not going to get super direct into that, but what we want from an experience standpoint and so forth, but we have to have a hard number at defensive end. We have to have a hard number at offensive line. And so how we develop that high school portal, so forth. So we have to come up with a game plan of how we're going to attack that. And then once we establish that game plan and who those players are, then, all right, what's the reality of us getting said player? What is in the budget? How much is, the going rate per se? Now, obviously we're not able to discuss that with the player directly. That has to come once they sign, and there's rules and regulations that go with that. But and to be honest with you guys, that's what makes it even a little bit tougher than just all of this stuff that I'm talking to you about, is because there's not a direct number. There's no salary cap. There's no direct number that, hey, player X at this position gets, this amount of money. So it's like what we can explain to these players is like, this is this is where we are, in terms of
1 minute.
What our players get per se, but we can't have a direct conversation with the kid and tell them, oh, hey, we can pay you X amount. That's not the way the rules work. They have to sign, and then the collective handles that. But there's obviously an understood ballpark figure, so to speak, and then obviously it goes back to what we have directly in the budget as well. So there's a lot of moving parts to this thing, and to be honest with you, it can get quite hairy, as you can tell.
So, Coach, you're on the road. I'm sure your per diem is not like it used to be because you need to save it for the kids, right? I mean, you guys do a lot of fast food. You're not doing the steakhouse, so you got to cut back, right? Save some of that dough.
Well, let me tell Rock, and you know me, you and Manute know me well. I've never been worried about the per diem. I'm going to the steakhouse, whether it's on my dime or somebody else's. I'm getting that steak.
I love it.
Oh, that's
Coach,
great.
safe travels out there. Good luck out there, man. Thanks for the time. Thanks for calling us on the road.
You guys, as always.
You got Charlie Ragle, courtesy of Crest Insurance Group. Crest Insurance Group offers personal, business, specialty insurance solutions for clients across all markets. Go to crestins.com. Coming